updates now. First from Japan, powerful Typhoon Khanun lashes southwest Japanese islands, grounding flights and closing businesses. The powerful typhoon approached Japan's southwestern island of Okinawa on Tuesday, lashing the region with strong winds and high waves. Gusty winds with wind speed of nearly 200 kilometers per hour has killed at least one person. Moreover, 11 people were reported to be injured. The typhoon has forced transportation to halt and stores to close. The high wind has also hit the power lines in Japan's popular tourist destination Okinawa, knocking out electricity to more than 200,000 households on Wednesday morning. The city office in the Okinawan prefectural capital of Naha was closed due to violent winds, while supermarket chains were either shut or operating under shorter hours. According to the officials, hundreds of flights into and out of the Naha airport, including more than a dozen international flights connecting to Seoul, Hong Kong, Taipei, Shanghai, were cancelled. And for more on this story, Gilbert now joins us from Tokyo. Typhoon Khanun comes just days after the region was hit by Typhoon Doksuri. What has been the impact so far in the region, and how prepared are the authorities for further impact?
Well, they're quite prepared because, this is a seasonal occurrence in Okinawa, and there have been days of warning, hundreds of thousands of evacuations. But you're quite right, it is typhoon on top of typhoon, the sixth of the season, heightening the risk of flooding, heightening the risk of landslides as well. It has well and truly arrived, bringing those 12-meter waves, bringing in some parts up to 219 millimeters of torrential rain over the last 24 hours. And of course, as you mentioned, those absolutely ferocious winds up to gusts up to 230 kilometers an hour at times. Some injuries, as you mentioned, from people falling in those winds, and at least one death is reported so far, that of a 90-year-old man who passed away in a hospital a couple of hours after he was pulled from the rubble of his garage, which had collapsed in those winds. Officials had expressed concern in the last day or so about people remaining in not very stable, accommodations or situations, and those, buildings collapsing on people, and that seems to have been what has happened this time. And as you mentioned, also 210,000 households power cut from them due to this typhoon. There's a third of Okinawa. From here, the storm is set to move northwest, heading towards the east coast of China, just south of Shanghai. It is going to lick that coast with wind and rain, and then turning, forecasts show, over the weekend towards northeast, back towards Japan, towards Monday, where it is set to hit Kagoshima and the main western island of Kyushu, which has already been battered by weeks of rain and flooding as well. So it's really just weather event on top of weather event at the moment.
Right. Now, July has been reported as the hottest month worldwide on record by the World Meteorological Organization. And Japan too has seen a second hottest July on record. Is that correct? So till when can we expect such a sweltering heat wave to last in the region?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of different ways that Japan measures these things, and one particular measurement is that any day over 35 degrees, it counts as an extremely hot day. And in July, it counted this phenomenon at more than 2,400 towns and locations throughout the country, the second most on record, only being beaten by more than 3,000 back in 2018. But it's not just the number of places above 35 degrees, it is how long this is lasting for. Up to 200 towns at a time are saying that they're experiencing extremely hot days for 5 days or more at a time, not without relief. And of course, what this means, especially for the vulnerable and the elderly, is a heightened risk of heat stroke. And in the first 3 weeks of July, 70,000 people reported experiencing heat stroke, and some reports show that in Tokyo may have been 73 heat stroke affiliated deaths half of which reportedly because people were not using their air conditioning, especially as the cost of energy, imported energy, really soars in Japan at the moment. So again, like on top of the typhoons, there is also severe seasonal increases in heat that people have to manage with this summer as well.
Okay, we leave it here. Thank you, Chris Gilbert, for joining us. China braces for the third typhoon in as many weeks as torrential rains trigger extensive flooding in Beijing and neighboring Hebei province. Reportedly, many areas faced blackout as electrical lines were downed. According to the officials, at least 20 people have died and 13 others were missing as of now. A video footage showed roads badly damaged or inundated by floodwaters. The remnants of last week's superstorm Doksuri flooded Beijing for the fourth straight day on Tuesday. The rescue operation is reportedly underway. The floods have forced people in Beijing to flee on rubber boats. China's finance ministry announced that it would allocate $15 million for rescue work in Beijing, Tianjin and Hebei region. Powerful typhoon named Khanun triggered more rain in the Philippines as well, worsening flooding and landslide situation in the country. The country is still reeling up from the effects of Typhoon Doksuri, which has left more than a dozen people dead and over 1 million affected. Several provinces in the northern Philippines have reported serious flooding, agricultural damage and hundreds of displaced families.